The spiritual meaning of Capricorn's isolation. There is a version of loneliness that most people will never understand. Not the loneliness that comes from being abandoned, not the loneliness of rejection, not even the loneliness of loss. This is something deeper, something quieter, something that lives inside a Capricorn like a second heartbeat, always present, rarely spoken about. If you are a Capricorn, or if you love one, you already feel what I'm about to say. You have walked into rooms full of people and still felt completely alone. You have had conversations that lasted hours and walked away feeling like no one truly saw you. You have sat inside your own mind like it was the only place that made sense, and the world called it coldness, aloofness, arrogance. But what if I told you that your isolation is not a flaw? What if Capricorn's solitude is not a curse, but a calling? What if the universe designed you to stand apart, not because you are broken, but because you were built for something the crowd was never meant to carry? Today we're going deep, deeper than astrology charts, deeper than sun signs and birth dates. We're talking about the soul of Capricorn, what your isolation means spiritually, why it was given to you, and what you are supposed to do with it. Stay with me until the end. What I'm about to share will change the way you see yourself forever. To understand why Capricorn isolates, you first have to understand what Capricorn actually is at its spiritual core. In astrology, every sign is assigned a ruling planet, an element, a mode. But more than that, every sign carries a soul archetype, a spiritual purpose that runs like a river beneath all the personality traits, all the habits, all the behaviors. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, the planet of time, discipline, karma, and mastery. Saturn is often called the taskmaster of the zodiac, but in ancient traditions, Saturn was something far more profound. In Roman mythology, Saturn was the god of the harvest, the one who understood that what you plant in the dark, you reap in the light, that nothing of value comes without patience, that the soul must endure the winter before it can receive the spring. And what does every harvest require? Silence, stillness, turning inward. In Vedic astrology, Saturn, called Shani, is the planet of karma and spiritual discipline. Shani tests souls. He strips away everything that is comfortable, everything that is false, everything that is borrowed from others, until only what is real remains. Capricorn is the sign that carries this energy in its bones. The mountain goat and the sacred climb. Capricorn's symbol is the sea goat, part mountain goat, part fish. This is not an accident. The fish represents the deep emotional and spiritual undercurrent that lives beneath Capricorn's stoic exterior. The depth of feeling that most people never see, the wisdom that was not learned. It was felt at a level far below language. And the mountain goat? The mountain goat climbs alone. Not because it was abandoned, not because it doesn't know how to be with others, but because the terrain it must navigate, the steep, jagged, dangerous vertical climb toward its destiny, is terrain that crowds cannot survive. When a Capricorn withdraws from people, from noise, from social obligations, they are not being antisocial. They are answering the call of the mountain. They are doing what their soul was designed to do. There is a deep spiritual truth that all wisdom traditions share. You cannot hear the voice of your higher self when the noise of the world is too loud. Sufi mystics called it the still, small voice. Christian mystics called it the interior life. In Hindu philosophy, it is the Atman, the innermost self that cannot be accessed through distraction. Capricorns are born with a heightened sensitivity to this interior dimension. But sensitivity to the inner world means sensitivity to the outer world too. The chatter of social life, the demands of other people's emotions, the chaos of group energy. It doesn't just tire them, it drowns out the signal. When Capricorn retreats into solitude, they are not shutting others out, they are tuning in. They are recovering the frequency of their own soul, the frequency that tells them what decisions to make, what paths to take, what to build and what to let go of. Isolation for Capricorn is not absence, it is reception. Here is something few people understand about Capricorn. They carry more than most people see. Saturn's energy means that Capricorn came into this life with a full spiritual curriculum, heavy family karma, responsibility placed on their shoulders early, the requirement to be strong long before they felt strong. Many Capricorns became the caretaker as a child, the responsible one, the one everyone leaned on. And they did not process this in public. They processed it alone, in the dark, in the quiet hours of the early morning or late night, not because they were afraid to be vulnerable, but because they intuitively understood that transformation is not a spectator sport. The alchemist does not invite an audience into the laboratory. The process requires concentration. It requires containment. It requires silence. When Capricorn disappears, when they go quiet for days, when they pull away from everyone who loves them, something is happening beneath the surface that cannot be rushed, cannot be witnessed, and cannot be explained. They are turning their pain into purpose, their wounds into wisdom, their weight into wings. In nearly every ancient spiritual tradition, there is a concept of initiation, a period where the initiate must leave the community, enter the wilderness, and face themselves completely alone. Indigenous cultures sent their young warriors on vision quests. Mystics entered the desert. Monks withdrew to caves. Shamans fasted in isolation for days. The purpose was always the same: to die to one version of yourself and be reborn as another. Capricorn's cycles of isolation are spiritual initiations. Each time they withdraw from the world, they are crossing a threshold, leaving behind an old identity, an old limitation, an old fear, and emerging quietly as something more, something stronger, something they could not have become in the company of others. This is why Capricorns often seem to come back from periods of isolation fundamentally changed, not dramatically, not loudly, but if you pay attention, you will notice the shift. A new clarity in their eyes, a new stillness in their presence, a new kind of authority that doesn't ask for permission. They were not hiding. They were being forged. Capricorn does not waste. This is one of Saturn's most fundamental lessons. The economy of energy, the discipline of attention, the understanding that you cannot pour from an empty vessel and you cannot build something great with scattered resources. When a Capricorn pulls away from social obligations, from relationships that drain them, from conversations that go nowhere, they are not being cold. They are being precise. They are reserving their life force for what matters. There is a mission written in the soul of every Capricorn, a contribution they are meant to make, a legacy they are meant to leave, a standard they are meant to set. And that mission requires everything: the late nights, the early mornings, the refusal to explain themselves to people who were never meant to understand, the ability to sit in silence while everyone else is being entertained. Capricorn's isolation is an act of devotion to their highest purpose. It is sacred. Before we go deeper, if what you're hearing is resonating with something you've always felt but never had words for, you're in the right place. This channel, Capricorn Secrets, exists for exactly this reason. Hit that subscribe button right now, turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video that was made specifically for your soul. Now let's keep going, because we're only halfway there. Now, and this is important, not all of Capricorn's isolation is sacred. Some of it is a wound pretending to be wisdom. Because Saturn also has a shadow, and the shadow of Saturn is fear, fear of vulnerability, fear of being seen and found lacking, fear of needing someone and having that need go unanswered. Again, many Capricorns learned early that depending on others was dangerous, that showing weakness had consequences, that love came with conditions they could not always meet. And so they built walls, beautiful walls, impressive walls, walls disguised as independence, as strength, as dignity. But walls don't just keep pain out, they keep love out too. How to tell the difference? So how do you know? How does a Capricorn know whether their solitude is sacred or whether it has become a cage? Here is the spiritual test. Does your isolation expand you or shrink you? Sacred solitude feels like rest, like homecoming, like clarity arriving, like strength being restored. Fear-based isolation feels like hiding, like numbness, like a story you keep telling yourself about why you are better off alone, like a voice that says, no one would understand anyway, or it's not worth it, or I'm fine. Sacred solitude ends with you returning to life more fully, more present, more grounded, more capable of love. Fear-based isolation ends with you further away from the world and further away from yourself. Capricorn, only you know which one you are living right now. And if you are honest with yourself, you know. Let's talk about the destination. Because all of this, the silence, the wait, the long nights alone, the years of being misunderstood, it is leading somewhere. Saturn does not discipline without purpose. The mountain does not demand the climb without a summit. The initiation does not empty you without filling you with something greater. Capricorn, you are being prepared for mastery. Not mastery in the shallow sense, not just career success, not just financial stability, not just social respect. Mastery in the oldest, deepest sense of the word. Mastery of the self, the elder archetype. In many spiritual traditions, the figure that Capricorn represents is the elder. Not just someone who is old in years, but someone who has earned wisdom through endurance. Someone who has been through fire and came back with truth. Someone whose presence alone steadies a room. This is what Capricorn is becoming. Every time you chose discipline over distraction, you were becoming the elder. Every time you sat with your pain instead of numbing it, you were becoming the elder. Every time you held yourself to a standard that no one asked of you, you were becoming the elder. The elder does not need to be the loudest in the room. They do not need to be the most popular. They do not need to be constantly surrounded by others. Their power comes from within. Their authority is recognized, not demanded. Their wisdom is felt before it is spoken. This is the spiritual destination of Capricorn's isolation, not permanent loneliness, not proud self-sufficiency, but the kind of wholeness that can only be built alone and can only be given away in connection. Your isolation is shaping something the world needs. Here is the final spiritual truth I want you to hold today. The thing that was shaped in your solitude, the strength you built in silence, the wisdom you earned through suffering, the depth that most people never see, the world needs it. Not in some vague, abstract way, in a specific, direct way. There are people in your life, people who have not yet arrived and people already present, who will be changed by your presence because of what you became in the quiet. Your child who will grow up watching you be unshakable in a crisis. Your friend who will call you at 3 in the morning because you are the only one who knows how to hold space without flinching. The person you will lead in a business, in a community, in a family, who needs someone who was forged, not manufactured. Capricorn, you did not suffer in silence for nothing. You were being shaped into exactly what someone else needed you to become. I want to give you something practical before we close, because spiritual understanding without embodiment is just philosophy, and Capricorn, more than almost any other sign, is here to embody. Here are 3 ways to honor your sacred isolation instead of apologizing for it. Practice 1. Create a solitude ritual. Don't just allow your isolation to happen unconsciously. Give it a container, a consistent time, morning, evening, whenever your energy calls for it, where you deliberately step away from input and just exist. No phone, no content, no task. Light a candle if you want. Go outside if you need. Sit in your car in a parking lot if that's all you have. Tell the people in your life, this is not rejection. This is how I take care of myself so I can show up for you. Practice 2. Journal the transformation. Your solitude is producing something. Document it. Write down what you are processing. Write down what you are releasing. Write down what is beginning to emerge. In 5 years, when you look back, you will be astonished by the distance you traveled. In silence, in the dark, alone. Practice. 3. Release the guilt. This one may be the most important. You have been made to feel guilty for needing space, for going quiet, for not being available, for choosing yourself. Release it. You are not breaking people by needing solitude. You are honoring the design of your soul, and a soul that is honored produces something extraordinary. Say it out loud if you need to. My isolation is sacred. My silence is productive. My solitude is a gift I give to the world. Capricorn, I need you to hear this before you go. The world will not always understand you. They will misread your silence as coldness, your withdrawal as weakness, your standards as arrogance, your solitude as sadness. Let them. Because while they are trying to decode you, you are becoming someone they will one day be grateful for. Every mountain goat that has ever stood at a summit got there alone, not because no one loved them, not because they were incapable of connection, but because the summit is a place that can only be reached one step at a time, by one soul at a time, in the silence of their own commitment. That is you. That has always been you, and I want you to know, your isolation is not a life sentence. It is a preparation. It is a purification. It is the universe taking extraordinary care with an extraordinary soul. You are not too much. You are not too cold. You are not too serious. You are not broken. You are a Capricorn, and you are exactly where you are supposed to be. Thank you for being here today.